Welcome to the Empowered Women Life Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Karen Bashford. This podcast is for every woman who has ever felt limited by her past, silenced by trauma, or held back by society's expectations. Each week, we will share powerful stories, expert insights, and practical tools to help you become the leader of your own life. Today, I want to welcome Camille L. Miller, who is a reinvention architect, and Camille's work is very much around soul alignment and strategic precision. Camille's story that I've invited her to share is something that I'm aware many of you are probably doing already. However, for listeners that have yet to find their path truly, Camilla's story will open you up in ways that perhaps you recognize but haven't taken action on yet. I would say here that Camille is the CEO of the Soul Professional Movement. Now, I will be sharing details at the end of how you can contact Camille and all the services and what she's involved with. But I would stress here, please look into it. Because for me, it's something that resonated absolutely after I'd learned about it. So Camille, I'm going to stop now and say to you, welcome. Please introduce yourself and share your story.
Thank you. Like you said, I'm Camille L. Miller. I am the founder of the Natural Life Business Partnership, which is the parent company for the Soul Professional Movement, which is a global call to impact-driven entrepreneurs all over the world. Right now, we span 6 continents and 49 countries. We are a community of about 14,000 people that are following their passion in the world and building businesses around it. The movement expands, the conversation about the energy changing in the world, and my personal work is more around transforming the individual themselves and aligning who they are with what they do in life. I think you wanted me to start more with from the beginning of my intuition.
Yes, please, if you don't mind.
So growing up, I had a good life. It's not like a poverty to riches story or anything like that. I had a very good life and upbringing. I absolutely walked to a different drumbeat. I was intuitive and had abilities my whole life. I just ignored them. Like when I was young, and I remember around 7, just kind of knowing that there is something else in my life. And I called him Gus. Later in life, you'll hear me talk about Gus as God, universe, spirit, or self. But that was given to me, I think, a year ago from a guide that was working with me to build out my intuitive gifts. She's like, oh, I call my spirit team Gus too. And now I see it all over the place, but Gus gave me that word when I was 7. And I always just had this inner knowing. So now I know it as a gift, but then it just was like, I just know things and it's put in my head and that's what I know. And I had that most of my life. So I remember it very distinctly, young, somewhere between 3 and 7. I always was able to astro project in my dreams and do really cool things. And I just thought it was normal. Like I thought everyone just did this. But as I went to, school and got involved in the world and learned that I was a little different, I think it just naturally suppressed. There was never any idea of I'm suppressing this. It just, life kind of took over. right? I still always knew that I was different, but not in that way. I just thought I was a little different. And that was okay. And all through, went through school, college, grad school, got married, had the kids, did all the things. Was still lived a holistic lifestyle, was still attracted to things that others weren't. I always, was really into alternative methods of life. I was always tuned into high vibrational people, animals, children were always drawn to me. But I just thought that that was normal, right? And as I started to raise my kids, I got a job as a CEO of an organic farming association. And that's when it all started to come back to me because I was literally around high vibrational people. They were eating organic, they had clean bodies, most of them had spiritual practices. So when you surround yourself with higher vibrational people, your vibration raises, right? You are who you hang out with. And as that started to happen, I started to become who I always was again. Now, that started in 2011. So that was a long time ago when I took that position. It started to build and build. And I think I looked more into inner work and started reading on past lives and all of the things I was just curious about. I'm a sciencey gal. So I'm very rooted in logic and science. And that's, I think, what makes me a little bit different because I always had this woo side to me too. But if you look at my studies, my first degree is in counseling psychology, then I had an MBA, and then my doctorate work is in mind body medicine. I just kind of knew, but it was also my doctorate work that brought me back because I saw that everything was backed in science. And then I'm like, oh, like energy is real. We see it. We see it. We see it on screens, right? We see it on energy scans. Like we see it. We know it exists. We know that there is energy in the food we eat and the things we do, and like there is energy all over the place. We have our own energy field, right? And I think it was more there that I started to really get deep in my doctorate work. And I was in my 40s when I was doing my doctorate work. So it just started to naturally progress. My job then was defunded in 2015, and I found myself kind of looking for what's next in life. Like, what am I doing? And I was turning 50. I was leaving a 22-year-old marriage. And I was like, well, I'm going to bet on myself because I have to learn how to support myself and do things the way I do them in the world, right? To be authentic. And I wasn't really drawn in by the money anymore. I wanted to really do good work in the world, like I was doing. I felt like I was, and I had found my passion, but I could take it one step further. And that's when I built what was began as the Natural Life Business Partnership. It is still our parent company today, but that's what I called the Soul Professional Movement at that time. Was really people that lived a natural life coming together in partnership. And that was the thought. And the idea was to create a professional organization that gave credibility to our work. So people didn't have to pretend to be something or live in these silos that they really weren't, but to become authentic and to live in coherence of who they actually are in the world. Now, my intuitive abilities tell me things like create this in the world, but I'm never giving a time frame. So I usually now I know, right, many years later, now I know I'm usually about 2 years ahead of the curve. I know that because I can see the pattern now. And but at the time I was just like, I have this unbelievable knowing. And I remember talking to a girlfriend who was a shaman, but I didn't know that at the time either. I just felt like she was someone I could talk to. And I was like, I have this unbelievable knowing that this is what I'm supposed to build in the world. And she calls, yeah, it's called claircognizance. She goes, you're given downloads and you follow them. And I was like, huh, I just thought I knew shit. Like it was just like, okay, now it has this word to it. And that's when I started the inner journey as well of really looking like, what is, I mean, everyone doesn't do this. Everyone's not like me. And then going more inward. So I think we all have these layers to ourselves,
Mm.
right? This growth, this evolution of who we are. And that was just a part of it. It's just like always being in not-for-profit work. Like my mission was always to help others. Always. My whole life was always to help others. And that's why my first degree was in counseling psychology. But being a counselor, I was that for 3 or 4 years. That was not it. But I still think I'm that type of person today. I just try to call myself more of an advisor or a thought partner, right? Because I do it in co-creation with others. So I built this natural life business partnership and started telling everyone, hey, I think we need a professional organization that honors who we are. What do you think? It was a paid membership at that point. I think I started at $195 a year, and people were just joining and joining. And it was just coffee clubs. I would go around and tell people my idea, and they're like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do this. And we were literally meeting in person. So it was like I'm in New Jersey, so it was New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and then we just started to get bigger and bigger. But I was driving to all of these places, sometimes 3 times a day, and I was a single mom. So at the end of 2018, no, it was at the end of 2017, I got a call from someone in California who said, oh my God, I've been watching you. I can't wait for you to come out here. And I knew in that moment I did not have a sustainable model. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. I can't afford to fly out there, go to a meeting, come home, be a mom, and the $195 was never paying for that flight or my time, right? And what if I went and no one joined? Like, I was like, this isn't going to work. But as universe always has my back, I heard of this thing called Zoom. And I had this deep knowing that the future is going to be on video. And I didn't know why, but I was like, okay, I guess we're going to a no chapter online organization so everyone can get to know each other. And we're going to start, at that time, I only thought it was going to be national. That was my goal, right? Just to get off the East Coast. Um, and we went to a Zoom model, and I had to convince everyone that this was the future of business. You have to learn how to hold your sessions online. And it was crazy. And in 2019, doing my doctorate work, I came across this thing called Psyche, which is an energy psychology that is backed by the science of Bruce Lipton. And I was actually reading Bruce Lipton's work and studying his work for my dissertation. So that's where I came across it, and I was like, "What is this?" And there was someone in my community that had just got certified in Psyche, so I called and said, "Hey, this came across in my work. I'd just like to learn more about it when I have coffee." She's like, "Sure." And we had coffee. She happened to live in my town, so we had coffee in town. And she was telling me about this work and that she had become an international instructor, and she travels all over the world to teach this. And it wasn't really in the United States yet. And I was like, this sounds really cool. And I already know the science because I read about it. And she goes, for my last time of the year, this was in the end of October, I think we met. I always teach in my hometown the first level basic class. Can you come? And I was thinking, no way in hell can I come. I'm a single mom. I think it was over like Thanksgiving weekend. I was like, I can't do this. But this is really cool. And it turns out that I went home, checked my calendar, and I had nothing planned for that weekend. And I was like, oh my God, like, how is that possible? And my kids were able to go to their dads. And all of a sudden, I was like, okay, I'm going. And I went and got certified in this psyche as an energy psychology that blew my mind away. And this is the only modality I'm trained in. It's literally going in and changing your subconscious beliefs, which actually does cellular change because your thoughts become things and your body actually gets into coherence, and there's actual cellular change that's happening in your body. And I loved it. And I was in counseling at that time for an abusive marriage, and I was able to clear like 3 years of therapy work in about 15 minutes,
Mm.
and I never went back. And I can't pull up that pain anymore. It's just it doesn't exist in my body. And I was like, this is kind of cool. How can I use this in my work? So that was at the end of 2018. So in 2019, she said, I want to become an international, it's called an intermediate level trainer. So a trainer was coming in from Turkey, Istanbul, to train the intermediate level, but to train her to be a trainer. Would I like to take the class 6 weeks later? And I was like, yeah, because it's not even offered in the United States. Like, yeah, I'll be there. And sure enough, there was time in my schedule. We did this, and it was absolutely like next level. And then a couple weeks later, they did a mastery up in upstate New York because this trainer's brother had a B&B up there, and all the instructors were coming, and I was able to take the mastery. Like it was just worked like clockwork, and then it just happened to all be where I could get. And in the mastery, at the end of 2019, they taught how to do this on Zoom. Right. So I was like, okay, that's really cool. So in 2019, my name goes on this international directory of people that are in Psyche and that are certified to do this. And the it was called NLBP, the Natural Life Business Partnership at that time, goes international because people start to find me. So people are joining the community. And then you might remember a global pandemic hitting in 2020.
Mm.
And it was like, it was just perfect timing. It was the perfect tsunami for us of we didn't have to pivot, we didn't have to change. Everyone was already on Zoom. We were already doing our meetings. My coffees had moved to Coffee with Camille, was all on Zoom, and we just started to implode. Um, and my Psyche work and some of the work I do today was all developed during that time. And that's when I woke up one morning and I got the download to trademark the word soul professional. And I just called my trademark attorney. Like I didn't have to think about it. I was like, okay, I guess we're going in this direction. so, so that's when we trademarked the world and came out with the movement by the end of the year. We came out with the full movement because at that time it was just me and nothing was automated, nothing like, so we almost imploded. But since then, I've learned to really start to trust my intuition. And I will, for anyone listening, that is really hard. It's really
Mm.
hard to be still and to listen. And I've had a lot of lessons around that when sometimes I didn't listen. Um, but knowing is the hardest part. And like I said, I'm always about 2 years ahead. I know that now. I didn't know that then, right? So the Zoom thing worked. Um, and in 2024, I'm trying to see, like in 2023, I opened the school because I was a former MBA professor and I just didn't like what we were teaching. It was the same stuff that I learned when I went for my MBA in the early 90s. And I was like, this is kind of stupid. Life isn't like this anymore. This is not how the world runs. Um, so I brought it more internal and I taught what I call the business accelerator, but it's the MBA program over 14 weeks. And I work with you individually to build out your program, but also around who you are as a person. So we do a lot of identity work and reprogramming and what that looks like. It was highly successful. And then in 2024, I read the book 10X is Easier Than 2X by Benjamin Hardy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to shed everything that no longer serves me. Um, and I shed the membership that we had built for over 10 years. And I decided to make it free to the community, which we're still building on now. And I went back to individual work, which I had not been doing, but I felt very, very called to do individual work and start bringing back the Psyche work which I do for friends and clients, but I didn't really have a practice since 2020 when people were calling me all the time to do it. And I love it. And I've been called, especially lately, that there's this new awakening happening. And
Mm,
where my work was so much in the strategy is now in self mastery.
mm,
And I'm really being called now to do more individual work and help people repattern who they are for who they are becoming and for the to really hold the success in their body so they're embodying their business. I still don't have a title for what I do. I'm still thinking it
Here it
through.
come. Here it come.
Um, yeah, but it's like I'm an embodiment. I hate the word coach. But I like the word alchemist, but not everyone knows that from a logical brain. But I help people embody who they are. And for mostly women and visionaries that keep thinking, well, I can't do it or it's not done this way, it used to be alignment. A lot of my work was just getting your business in alignment with your core values and who you are and how you want to show up in the world. But in this new world in 2026, it's also about embodying who you are in this world, right? How you are showing up. Does your body agree with it? So you can hold the success, hold the wealth. It's a reprogramming of your cells. So now I'm going heavy back into that psyche work. But I've also learned to develop my intuition and my spirit team talks to me. So when I'm in session with someone, my guides and my team are with me and they guide me to whatever needs to be. So for me, it's kind of like a sci-fi movie. I see like a map in front of me of who you are, where you need
Mm,
to go. And my spirit team's telling me things that we need to work on that you might not think matter, and they really matter, right? I've worked a lot in relationships come up, relationships with partners or relationships with parents, relationships obviously with money. And that's a lot of the work that we work on when people come to me to build out their business or their strategy. So now I'm in this space of awakening, and my energy is attracting other people that are awakening. So I say the soul professional movement isn't just for business owners, it's for seekers. It's for those just awakening and just really need a safe space to express who they are. And it's okay if you don't have a business because maybe you'll find one that you need here or you'll create one from your own knowing. I don't believe in competition, so it's really a creator space for what people are becoming and to explore their own inner child needs that I think is really bubbling up in a lot of us. So now the community has I run a soul circle where I pull oracle cards and have discussions. We have healing circles. Now we have networking. I do master classes where I'm teaching business. We also have a global prayer for peace that we're bringing all over the world. Because our vibration is so high, we can actually change the world.
mm.
Because now we're a community of about 14,000 people. We're in 6 continents and 49 countries. So the word's getting out.
Yeah. So I got a couple of questions to ask you that I'm sure somebody will be interested in hearing the answer.
Okay.
First off, you mentioned that you astral planing. Could you
Yeah.
explain
Astro
what that
travel.
involved? Astral travel, yes. Could you
Well, I can't
explain?
do it now. I can't do it now. I think it's really cool when I talk to people who can. It was just something that was so natural to me as a child when I would do it as I went to sleep. I could go into these semi-conscious state. I still can today in these semi-conscious states where I'm able to see things and do things. I'll be honest, I am not trained. I really don't know how to control things. Um, that is on my list, but I keep putting out to the universe the right mentor will show up. The right mentor will show up in exactly the right time. So I will learn what I need to know. Um, but I used in my dreams, I used to fly. I used to be able to go places. There are pictures and places that show up in my dreams, and those same places has shown up for decades, right? So they exist somewhere on a plane. It's really wild.
Interesting.
But yeah, when I was a kid, though, I could fly, I could do anything in my dreams, and I was able to control it. So it was very lucid, right? I could control my dreams, I control my conversations, I can control where I was going. I can't do that anymore.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like you knew that you could do all these things, but
Yes.
as you grew,
Yeah.
you suppressed,
Not on purpose.
not on
Um,
purpose, but we do. I was
yeah.
exactly the same. I knew how to do things and I knew to listen, but at the same time, I chose to suppress it. Well, I unconsciously chose to suppress it because it
Yeah.
made you different. And this is it. I think to an extent, we have a need to be part of something that we belong to. And when we're different, we do things to not necessarily harm ourselves deliberately, but to actually harm ourselves because we want to be part of something. What you've created is allowing people who feel different and who have awoken to the reality that there is something more and it's okay to have that connection to that something more that allows them to come in and truly be who they need to be rather than this person who's suppressed so much or basically has chosen to ignore it because it was safer not to have it, whatever that habit is to them. So whether it's the ability to, you know, connect with their intuition, whether it's their ability to actually see ghosts even, because I could see ghosts as a
Yeah.
child. And
Hmm.
yet my teacher, my junior teacher, told me, don't be so bloody stupid. You can't see ghosts. Excuse me, I could, but I stopped allowing myself to do that because I wanted to be part of the school group, my peer group. I didn't want to be standing out as somebody who could do something different.
Yeah.
So, based on your experience, and you say that some of it you can't do now, what would you say to somebody who is now facing a situation where basically they're now becoming far more conscious of their own abilities? What would you say to them?
So there is a grand awakening happening for all of
Mm-hmm,
us, right? That the energy has shifted, the paradigm is here. The age of Aquarius, we are all becoming more light beings, right? And
mm-hmm,
those that are in this new world will all find each other. That's part of the movement, right? And because we are all with each other, all of our vibrations will rise together. So
mm-hmm,
if you feel you are awakening and you want to just, you're curious, I would say, come to the community, learn a little more, ask questions. The best thing to do is ask questions. I'm a reader, so I tend to research everything. Like the first time someone came to me, it was 2011 or 2012. I remember meeting this person who said, I think I knew you in a different life. And I was like, are you freaking crazy? Like it was like, what? But there was this unbelievable knowing,
mm-hmm,
like I knew this person before and I did not. Right. And I was like, huh. So I studied it. I studied all of the work of Brian Weiss at the time. I used to take summers to study one specific thing. This is the
okay.
researcher in me, right? Um, and for a whole summer, I just read everyone's ideas of past lives and the science behind it and what if and right. So if you're curious, just find people you like. I mean, I always say like a lot of people that find me start with like Esther Hicks, right? They
Mm-hmm.
find the channel and they start listening to that and like, oh, I feel like I'm becoming something, right? And I like they dip their toe in the pool, but they're going for the whole swim,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
um yeah, so just be curious, be open. As I've developed, and I say like I haven't really had a teacher. I've had a few people in my life that have told me things, which has gotten me better, but I've never really studied to become better. Um, but I have learned, especially over the past, I'd say, year and a half, that the more quiet I am, the more
Mhm.
I hear.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have to be the doer and the actor, right? Because it is being done for me, not to me.
Hmm.
Sometimes when things don't look like they're right, I'm always like, okay, this door is definitely closing. Where am I being redirected? Not being mad that that door is closing. It's just being, where am I being redirected at this time? And going through life more with curiosity of what is possible for me right now, right? Because our brain is wired for safety. So it immediately shuts down possibility.
Yeah.
So we have to really search to be open for what's possible. And when you ask universe, what is possible? Show me what's possible. I'd love to see what's possible, right? Doors will open that you would have never expected because now your brain is searching to help you. Your brain is
Hmm.
wired to always help you, right? So when you ask that, and this is in science, it's called the reticulating activating system. Your brain just looks for it. It's like, I want to buy a red car, and then you see red cars everywhere, right? I'm thinking of reading this book, and then you hear the book mentioned, you'll see an advertisement for the book, right? That is your brain saying, hey, it's over here. Hey, it's over here. Hey, you mentioned wanting to see this, right? And that's why declaring what you want in the world is why it shows up, because your
Mm.
brain is wired to help you find things that you're looking for, right? So we just have to declare it. You have to say, I'm ready. On the opposite side, right? When you were saying about seeing ghosts, I have a thing. I have told my spirit team and everyone, do not show me a ghost. Do not show me a spirit. I don't want to do that. So my spirit team will never show me one, right? But when I speak to mediums or psychics and everything, they always tell me every day, since I've ever, like, since I was young, they always tell me, but you have this ability. And I'm always like, I know.
Yes, but you
I'm
can
not
have an
interested.
ability. You don't have to tap into it. I
Right.
am totally fascinated by ghosts, and it's interesting for the last 15 years. I
Mm-hmm.
have literally moved to points where I am either looking at a church or I am living next door to a church or I have been in a site that literally was basically a medieval graveyard. But I adore spirit. I adore seeing ghosts. I adore being able to help them pass over if they're stuck. So for me, a church graveyard
Yeah.
is the ideal position. So, but that doesn't mean to say if I chose not to do that, I wouldn't be sitting living next door to a church. So
Yeah.
it's
Your mind would close it.
recognizing, yeah, you don't
Yeah.
have to do something just because you have that ability. And I think
Exactly.
that's what scares a lot of people. They think if they open up to what is possible, they're going to find something that they don't really want to do and not realize that actually they can shut themselves off, that they don't have to. I get asked all the time, well, if you're seeing something, how do you stop it? You're just simply telling me you don't want to see them, go away.
Yeah. Go
And
away.
it
Right.
works. It
And that's
works.
where the fear of success comes from in our
Mm.
business,
Yeah.
right? I always ask people, especially when I'm working on the embodiment piece, the mindset piece, the psychology
Hmm.
and energy piece, I always say, you know, can you think of a bad situation that'll happen from this? Adverse consequences, right? What is an adverse consequence that would happen if you achieve this goal,
Hmm.
right? Because we have to clear that too.
Hmm.
A lot of people want to be successful, but in their body, they're going, no, no, no. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be wealthy because I hate wealthy people. I don't want to be too busy, so I can't be with my family. When I first divorced, um, I actually had this. I didn't know it at the time. I knew it from inner work later that I stayed in poverty, like bad poverty, because I kept thinking, well, if I make money, my kids can't get a scholarship to go to college, and then I can't pay for it. I won't be able to afford to get my kids to college. And I stayed in this poverty mindset so my kids could go and get scholarships. By the way, they all did, right? But once they got it, I don't think I had to prove it for the next 4 years. You know what I mean? Like I stayed in this mentality of I don't want to ruin my kid's life, so let me stay in poverty. Right? I gave them this opportunity because I'm so poor. Let me stay poor. And it took a lot. And I also had this connection of when I make money, I'm not possible. People can't love me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or it'll be taken away again. And that has to go back to my marriage. But I had to work through all of that. But we set our own limitations. We rarely know we do because it's really hard to do your own work on yourself. Right?
Yeah.
When I can't see clearly, I have to ask a friend. Right? Like, what am I doing here? What am I missing? Let me talk this through with somebody because it's hard to see your own limitations or what you're doing. I can sabotage myself all day long and not see it. And it's like,
We all do it.
oh, I see what
We
I'm
all do
doing.
it.
Right before it's like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, we all do
yeah,
that. So I'm going to have to
yeah.
stop you because we've run out of
Okay.
time. But it's been fascinating. Thank you so much and very insightful. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of listeners that benefit from listening to how you have created what you've created out of just allowing your intuition to step in and listening to it. So thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate you as well.